IMSA has a unique race weekend coming up consisting entirely of their support series. Yes, we're going back to a familiar track in mid-Ohio to watch some incredible racing from 4 of IMSA's top support series and a global TCR championship. Here's everything you need to know about IMSA's support series Extravaganza at Mid-Ohio. This weekend, Mid-Ohio will feature 4 of IMSA's top support series, plus the FIA TCR World Tour. The weekend, though, will be highlighted by IMSA's Michelin Pilot Challenge, which features GS equipment, which is essentially GT4 equipment, and TCR spec cars. When combined, they'll make up a 40-car grid and compete in a single 4-hour race. Within that 40-car grid, 26 of those entries will be in the GS class, with the remaining 14 in the TCR class. And the series features some incredible racing. You can expect to see great battles throughout the field here, and the race will also feature full driver changes as well as full pit stops. I actually did a full episode on the Michelin Pilot Challenge, which you should go and check out. But there are going to be a few things I'm going to be keeping my eye out for in the Michelin Pilot Challenge race, and starting in the GS class, well, it's just going to be the overall battle for whoever can pull out the win in that class. Yeah, it sounds a little bit silly to say that I'm going to be watching the battle in an entire class, but this GS class has been so competitive this year. We've seen 3 different winners in the first 3 races of the season, and we've seen so many different cars running up at the front of the grid, as well as running even mid-pack. The championship is absolutely wide open here, and a good run in this 4-hour race is going to set you up really nicely for the summer months ahead. In TCR, I'm going to be watching to see if anybody other than the number 17 JDC Miller Motorsports Audi can win. Yes, they've won the first 3 races of the season, and it's pretty clear at this point that they're going to have a big target on their back heading into this weekend. And actually, if you want to hear a little bit more about this race weekend from a TCR race engineer's perspective, then stick around, because later in the show, I'm going to be talking with one. Also present this weekend will be the VP Sports Car Challenge. One of the newer series in IMSA's support series arsenal, it's pretty much like the Michelin Pilot Challenge, where they feature multi-class racing, except this series features LMP3 and GT4 machinery. Actually, I also did an episode on that in the off-season with everything you need to know, so you should go check that out. But this is just another series where we can also expect some great racing in. The entry list for the weekend will feature 22 entries in total. Yes, the LMP3 cars are not completely gone from IMSA, and they'll also be sharing the track with 13 GSX spec cars, which are essentially the same as the GS cars that run in the Michelin Pilot Challenge, as they're all GT4 spec cars as well. The 22 entries there will compete in 2 45-minute races this weekend. There's also a lot of buzz around this weekend for the brand new Mustang Challenge that takes to the track for the very first time. Yes, the Mustang Challenge is a single make series where all of the drivers will compete in the brand new Ford Mustang Dark Horse R. The car features a 5-liter V8 engine that's sure to sound incredible, especially when all 26 of them will be lapping around the track. And the drivers there will be classified into 2 different subclasses based on their age. This series will also feature 2 45-minute races over the weekend. Don't worry, we'll talk about how you can watch all of these races in just a few minutes. The final IMSA support series that's present this weekend is a favorite amongst many in the paddock, and that's the Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup. I also did an episode on them in the off-season. You know the drill at this point. I'll link it for you. There, though, we are going to see 28 entries take part in the 2 races over the course of the weekend that will each be 45 minutes in length. And now don't think that you can be going and leaving your couch for a single minute of those 45-minute races, as there is sure to be non-stop action around this Mid-Ohio track. The series boasts extremely close racing, and in fact, we have not seen a repeat winner through the first 6 races of the season. And given the extremely talented drivers that we have racing in this series, that trend could continue through this weekend as well. They are definitely one that you want to have circled on your calendar for this weekend. And lastly, we have a non-IMSA support series present as well, and that's the FIA TCR World Tour. This series features only TCR spec machinery, and it also includes the Lynk & Co. 03F, which we do not currently have on the Pilot Challenge grid, so there's a little bit of new machinery for us to take a look at. 15 entries are set to take part in those races, including IMSA regulars Harry Gottsacker and Mark Wilkins. The FIA TCR World Tour features two 25-minute races, and both of them will go on Saturday. Alright, I teased it a little bit earlier, but it is time to talk with Michelin Pilot Challenge, race engineer and strategist for Bryan Herta Autosports, Aaron Pfeiffer. So I'm joined by Aaron Pfeiffer now, race engineer and strategist for the number 76 Bryan Herta Autosports Hyundai Elantra in the Michelin Pilot Challenge. Aaron, thanks for hopping on today and for us to talk a little bit about the upcoming race at Mid-Ohio. It's right around the corner for us.
Yeah, Stu, thanks for having me. Excited to get back at it. We've been off for a month and ready to start the summer push here with returning to Mid-Ohio for the first time in a couple of years.
Yeah, you mentioned actually right off the bat that Mid-Ohio, it's been off the schedule. It was off the schedule last year. We're returning to it this year, and it's a support series only race. We're not going to have the WeatherTech Championship there, so it's going to give a good opportunity for some of the other series to really shine through. So, focusing in a little bit on the track here. So it's a fairly fast and flowing course. There's plenty of medium and high speed corners there. What sort of challenges does that pose for you from an engineering perspective?
Yeah, you really have two tracks. If the way I look at it, you have the first part of the track where you have three long straightaways and a 90-degree turn and a hairpin, and so obviously there you're looking for speed, you're looking for high speed cornering in turn one, but then you have a really technical part of the track from four really all the way back to the start finish straight. So yeah, it's a balance of each car has different strengths and trying to utilize the strengths the best that you can to make the most time on track, and also what your drivers can do, so obviously it's a Pro-Am series, so you have to set up the car to handle those corners for your AM driver, so might be sacrificing a little bit of straight line speed. There's that fine balance, and it's a condensed weekend in IMSA. You only have 2 hours of track time to go figure all that out. So it's a lot of communication with your drivers and figuring out what they need and trying to make the changes as quick as possible.
Now, of course, it has been a couple of years since we've come here, and it sounds like the different sections of the track, the high speed corners, everything, it can pose some setup challenges. Do you have any notes that you can go back and rely on from previous years, or are those kind of thrown out the window because it's been so long and this is a freshly paved track as well?
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly go back to those notes. I have my notes from when I was here last in a different car and in a Gen 1 Audi. And then, being at a large team like Bryan Herta Autosport, we obviously have years of data going back, both with the Elantra in as well as the Veloster. So, yeah, there's a lot of data you can pull from. And then, my driver has run here a couple times before. So, leaning on him and what he remembers and what he thinks from his notes as well. So, yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of this is going back to the same places and learning, so you're not learning the track per se as if it's your first year out there or with a brand new car. But certainly the repave will add an interesting element to Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, it certainly will. Something else that is going to add an interesting element is again, the support series only aspect of this weekend. You guys are the headlining show with your 4-hour race on Sunday. So there have been some weekends, I believe last year at Lime Rock, you were also, the TCR class was also the headlining class there. So is there anything different on a weekend like this for you guys?
Yeah, we're racing on Sunday, so that's new. Yeah. Normally I'm back home on my couch watching the WeatherTech race on Sunday. So no, I mean, we're really excited to be the headliner. I think if you ask almost anybody in the pilot paddock, we think we put on a really good show in both classes. And I'm excited to see this IMSA taking this step. I think it's great to get us to more tracks across the country, get more fans, more weekends to try to come see us race. And we hope to put on a really good show. I think the 4 hour races and pilot challenge really always deliver. So I think there'll be no different at Mid Ohio. And yeah, I'm excited to see the new Mustang Challenge cars that are brand new. Of course, the MX-5 guys are always going to do something crazy. Be excited to see that. And then the VP guys. So fans at the track can still see some prototype action with those guys as well. So yeah, it should be a really good weekend. Plus, the our friends from TCR World Tour coming to America for the first time. So you can see some standing start action even this weekend.
That's true. That's true. I think I just saw that there is going to be a Brian Herta entry in TCR World Challenge. I think with Mark Wilkins and
Harry as well. So we'll
Harry.
have,
Okay.
yeah, two cars. Yeah.
Okay, a couple of entries, so it's
Yeah,
gonna be a busy weekend under the Brian Herta.
yeah, and those two series do not have the same BOP, so it is definitely different for especially for Mark and Harry jumping out of one car and into the other. I think sometimes within like 30-minute turnaround times.
Whew. Well, they're gonna be getting a lot of track time, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned this is a 4 hour race. This is not the norm for every round of the Michelin Pilot Challenge season. Usually you have 1 or 2 4 hour races a season. So what are there any different or unique challenges that a 4 hour race presents for you guys versus a 2 hour race? Does it give you the freedom to try, maybe some different strategy plays? What's sort of different about this 4 hour format?
Yeah, to me, they're my absolute favorite. Your strategy in TCR in 2 hour race is there's only so much you can do. You only have a 40-minute window for driver change, and everybody's pretty much starting their AM and finishing their pro. But yeah, when you get to the 4 hour race, you have a lot of stuff going on, a lot of different strategies. Bare minimum 3 stops. I think we stopped 5 times at Daytona. A lot of different things going on. Some cars running 3 driver lineups. We ran a 3 driver lineup in my car. At Daytona, we're back down to a 2 driver lineup. So, a lot of different balls to juggle. But to me, as someone who's done both pilot and WeatherTech, it's a lot more like a WeatherTech endurance race like Sebring or Daytona. You have a lot of strategy going on. If you lose a lap, you can get it back on the wave by. So yeah, I love them. I wish we had more of them, to be honest with you. I think they're a blast, and I think I hope we deliver a great show. I think Daytona, you saw an awesome finish with 2 different things going on with the true fuel strategy battle in GT4, and then the door banging in TCR. So hopefully we can do that again.
I'm sure it's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to that. And one of the other things about the Michelin Pilot Challenge is just the grid size is very healthy right now. For this weekend, we have 24 entries on the GS slate and then 16 in TCR. So with a lot of cars on a track like this, even though Mid Ohio isn't exactly a small track, how big of a role do you think traffic is going to play in this weekend? It's not a track that's difficult to make passing at, but there are only a certain number of good opportunities to make those passes.
Yeah, I think you see traffic come into play every race and pilot challenge, not only with GT4s trying to get around TCRs, but even TCRs trying to get around GT4s. I mean, there's certain parts of the track where the TCR is just as fast as a GT4. There's some pro drivers when they're up against AM drivers in GT4 that they're passing each other and then getting passed back on the straight by the GT4. So yeah, traffic is always playing a part. And then when you're in TCR, when you're in the lower class, the class leader of GT4 is playing a big role in your race as well. If the yellow comes out, you're behind them, but they're in front. The leader of TCR still in front of them, then your pass arounds and all that start to happen. So, yeah, traffic will play a big part. I think you'll see a lot of frantic passing in the latter part of the race, like always. I mean, you see the GT4 guys can get pretty impatient at the end of the race sometimes, and it's just like in WeatherTech. I mean, you saw it just in Detroit last weekend. There were a lot of poor GT3 guys getting punted by the prototypes.
Yep, it's that's one of the I guess the good and the bad things about multi-class racing is there's going to be traffic, and sometimes there's incidents that can stem from that traffic. But so far this season, you guys have had a pretty solid start to the year. You're sitting third in the points. So what do you think of your chances going into this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we really like our chances, but we wouldn't be racers if we didn't think we were going to go out and win every weekend. But yeah, no, we're really excited about this one. We were lucky enough to do a test last week. Both my drivers got to test. Unfortunately, I didn't get to attend the test, but so we got some valuable data on the track and with the repave and how the tire handles that. So yeah, we're excited to have that extra bit of knowledge going into the weekend. It's the first time in a long time that Denny's had just a 2-driver lineup in a 4-hour race. It's the first time I've ever had a 2-driver lineup in a 4-hour race, so it gives us some more flexibility there. So yeah, I mean, we're happy to be third in the championship, but we're certainly not satisfied. And right now, as everybody can see, JDC is sitting on top of the hill, and it's up to somebody to dethrone them. I mean, hats off to them. You can't ask for a better start to the season. But we'd love to be the first people to put them off the top step of the podium.
I can imagine that's going to be extra sweet for whoever can dethrone them after the incredible start that they've had. But Aaron, a big thank you for joining me here today. Before I let Aaron go, though, there is something that we want to announce. This isn't going to be the last time that Aaron and I are talking about the Michelin Pilot Challenge or IMSA's various support series. We are going to be doing a new monthly-ish podcast. We'll call it that. It might be a little bit less often than a month. It might be more often than a month, depending on how the Michelin Pilot Challenge races sort of fall into place. It's going to be called 4 Doors and GT4s, and it's going to be focusing on IMSA's support series, specifically the Michelin Pilot Challenge, and shining a well-deserved spotlight onto to some of the great racing that we see there. So stay tuned for more details on that. I'll keep you guys updated on when that first episode is going to be. I think we're probably going to aim for some time in June. Whether that is before or after Watkins Glen, we'll have to figure that out. But keep an eye out for more details on that. And once again, Aaron, a big thank you for coming on, and the best of luck this weekend in Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, really appreciate it, Stu. I really hope to see a lot of people out there this weekend and support the Pilot Challenge as they're the flagship race for the weekend for the first time in a very long time. And excited to get to chat with you more and highlight some of the great racing we have going on in Pilot Challenge.
It was a ton of fun talking to Aaron about this weekend at Mid-Ohio, and it's also going to be great to talk to him more over the course of the season about all things Michelin Pilot Challenge, as well as IMSA's other support series. Make sure that you stay tuned for more details on 4 Doors and GT4s, which will be released in the coming weeks. In terms of the IMSA racing this weekend, it all gets underway on Saturday. There, it kicks off with the VP Racing Fuel Sports Car Challenge, which gets underway at 1:10 p.m. Eastern Time for the first of their 2 45-minute races, which you can catch on IMSA TV or Peacock. Following that up at 2:15 p.m. Eastern Time, also on IMSA TV and Peacock, will be the first ever race for the new Mustang Challenge. Finally, wrapping up the IMSA competition on the day at 3:20 p.m. Eastern Time will be the Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup. You can catch that race on IMSA TV. Flipping the calendar over to Sunday, and it's an early start to the day, is at 8:25 a.m. Eastern Time. You can catch race 2 for the Mustang Challenge on Peacock and IMSA TV. Following that up at 9:35 a.m. Eastern Time will be the final race for the VP Racing Fuel Sports Car Challenge. Again, you can catch that on IMSA TV and Peacock. The Whelen Mazda MX-5 Cup will then take to the track at 10:40 a.m. Eastern Time on IMSA TV. And finally, wrapping up the weekend at 12:35 p.m. Eastern Time will be the Michelin Pilot Challenge for the O'Reilly Auto Parts 4 Hours of Mid-Ohio, and you can catch that on IMSA TV and Peacock. Also, you can catch the 2 FIA TCR World Tour races on the TCR TV YouTube channel, and you can catch those on Saturday at 8:30 a.m. and 5:45 p.m. Now, we're in for a great weekend of racing at Mid-Ohio, and it's going to be great to see these support series really get an opportunity to shine. But there's a lot to know about IMSA's various support series ahead of this weekend. Don't worry though, I have a playlist with everything you need to know about IMSA's support series right here. Huge shout out to all the channel supporters. If you too want to support the show, you can head to patreon.com/offintheS's or click the join button below. Once again though, thanks for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great race weekend and doesn't go off in the S's.